Hello everyone, welcome to my channel or welcome back to my channel. My name is Alicia and in this video I'm going to show you how I made this Land of the Free Because of the Brave cup using the brushstroke technique that I saw done by Jessica Flynn of Flynn Sisters Boutique. So if you're interested to see how I did this, stick around and I'm going to go ahead and get started. Guys, so I am using a 20 ounce, and I'm not sure the name of this, and this is a Maker Flow cup. I have spray painted it white, and so I decided that I wanted to do white strips, blue strips, red strips. So I actually what I did here was I took a picture of a red bandana and then I transferred it over, put it in my Cricut design space, and this is a pair of blue jeans that I have, so I took a picture of that and I split those up. And then this I just went in and just did the blue and red stars on white strips, which, you know, it just prints out like this. So I'm going to hand cut this out because we don't want it to be perfect, so I'm going to hand cut it instead of letting the Cricut cut it. And I have already measured out, so, you know, depending on the cup you're using, your diameter is going to be different. Now, if you're using a straight skinny, obviously it's going to be the same from top to bottom. For this cup, I went like in the middle, and then I just grabbed a piece of tape and I didn't measure it out. I just made sure that it touched, and then I pulled it off. I marked 1/2 inch increments on my tape, and that's how I decided like how many stripes I wanted to use and how many paint stripes I wanted to use. So you're gonna do like however many stripes you need is dependent upon how the diameter of your cup. So I'm gonna head and I'm gonna cut these out. All right, so I'm just going to speed you up here because I'm just cutting out all the strips. I'm not being neat about it. I do want to be even a little bit jagged because you don't want it to be, perfect. Brushstroke is kind of, it's a freehand thing. So here I'm talking about you don't need to have the strips go exactly from the top of the bottom to the bottom of the cup. Sorry. You can have them a little short. In fact, I would probably recommend just leaving it a little bit short because you are going to spray paint the top and the bottom, so you don't need them to go all the way to the top and all the way to the bottom and then run the risk of not getting a good seal with your epoxy on the cup. So just, cut them a little bit short. That's totally fine. And now I'm going to turn you over to listen to some wonderful iMovie music until I'm done cutting these strips out. So I got my 3 strips, and so I think I'm gonna now I've got to figure out where do I want do I want them all next to each other? Do I want I probably don't want them all next to each other. So do I want blue, paint, red? Well, that's way too wide. All right, we definitely got to trim this bad boy down. Red, paint, blue, paint, white, paint, red, paint, blue, Am I doing this? Like losing track here. Blue, paint, paint, white, paint, paint. It'd be red again. So yeah, so maybe I just made too many. Okay, that's fine. We'll make it work. Cut this down. I'm gonna do it one more time. Let's make sure. So red, paint, paint. Let's do white. White, paint, paint, blue. Paint, paint, red. Paint, paint, white. Paint, paint, blue. Paint, paint, red. Paint, paint. Okay. All right, so there's going to be 3 red. There's going to be 2 white and 2 blue. All right, that works for me. Alrighty, so I am going to start. I actually do want to trim these down a little bit more. So a little too wide. Even though I said I was going to paint over them a little bit, I do want to trim it just a hair. Because visually it's kind of like messing me up. So. Alright, so now that I have my pattern down, I'm going to go and I'm going to start here. I'm going to trim this up a little bit. And so, you know, with this you can do printable vinyl. You could do fabric if you wanted. You can do water slide. You can do like printable vinyl or your printed vinyl, like it's already pre-printed. So, you know, if you have a pattern vinyl, you can use it. You know, the sky's the limit with this. You know, you can use whatever combination of things that you want. You can make every single one of these different if you want it. It's like totally up to you. So I'm just peeling this off and I'm just gonna put this on my cup and just go down. Now, it doesn't matter if it goes to the ends because you're gonna be spray painting that anyway. So I'm actually gonna, now I can't put my tape on now because I've already put my strip on, so I'm just gonna have to kind of like eyeball this. All right, so I am just going to put my strips down. I'm speeding this up. I am putting my strips around the middle about 1 inch apart. So the cup taper, so it's the 1 inch. You're gonna lose the 1 inch as you get closer to the bottom, and that's okay. Because you're gonna be painting a little bit over each strip when you do, like, you paint your color and then your glitter. So I'm just placing these, you know, eyeballing about 1 inch. There's a little space at the top and the bottom, which is what you want because you're going to spray paint over that anyway. And now I'm going to turn you over to some music again. So here is what this looks like so far. Now, when I come in with my paint. So I'm gonna be right back after I set all that up. All right, so I've got my paint. I am using the Folk Art Engine Red and the blue ink spot. And so I might have to put a couple of coats. So I'm gonna look at the cup and I'm gonna see like where I wanna go in with my blue. So I want to go in with my blue here in between the red and the white. That's not coming out. Whoop. And then I am just gonna drag this down And I'm gonna go over the two. So I got a little too much, whoops, on that. So I definitely want to get that off because that's way too much. But not bad coverage. It's pretty good coverage for the blue. So I am going to get some of that excess off. I'm just gonna take a paper towel. I'm gonna wipe it, and if that doesn't work, then I guess it'll just have to be a little extra blue, because if I put anything else on it, because it's printable vinyl, it's gonna mess it up. So, all right, well, it's brush stroke, so it'll be a little. All right, so I'm gonna do the blue there, and I'm gonna do, let's see, let's do this because I don't want to do that on the cup again. So I'm gonna do blue there, and I'm gonna do blue on the other side of this red. And then I'm gonna do red. So again, overlapping is totally fine. That's what you want to do. These are brush strokes. All right, I like that. All right, speeding up again. This is one of those cups where there's a lot of repetition, so, you don't need to suffer through each and every line that I paint on, in slow-mo. So I'm just gonna speed through. I'm alternating my red and my blue. I am leaving some spots on the cup white because that is where my star multicolor glitter is gonna go. And so I'm just gonna turn some music back on again. Sorry, I wish I had, really great music for you, but, every time I try to put what I think is kind of decent music on iMovie Music, YouTube flags it and tells me it's copyright. There's so much copyright problems with, putting music in any of your videos on Facebook, on YouTube. So then you guys got to listen to like this silly little like jingles almost. And so I've pretty much talked through this whole thing. So I'm not even going to torture your ears with any more of that awful music. I'm liking it. So I'm going to let this dry so that we can come in with the Mod Podge and start to glitter. So I'll be back when this is dry. Alright guys, so my cup is dry and I'm going to start off with my blue. So I'm using Sexy Blue Eyes for the blue and Red Solo Cup for the red. And then on the white, I am going to do Old Glory Stars. So this is really cute, red, white, and blue star mix. They got little stars and bigger stars. So that one's really cute. Alright, and so I'm going to Mod Podge my stripes, and back to speeding you guys up again. So I am just putting a strip of Mod Podge. I'm getting my thin bristled brush, and I am just smoothing out the Mod Podge on the strips. I am starting with the blue, and I'm doing 1 or 2 strips at a time. And so I'm going in with, I'm doing the first 2 strips, the red and the blue, I am doing in fine glitter. I don't want chunky glitter on all the strips because it's such a small spot that I think they would really crowd each other. And I just wanted to get like a smoother finish because the last strip that I'm doing over the white, or the last strip I'm doing that is white, I am putting chunky glitter on. I'm putting some stars on there, which later you'll see kind of, it's a chunky glitter and it poses a little bit of a problem. Nothing that we can't get through, but it's a little bit more challenging. So I am just, going to go through through each one until I get to the white, and then I'm going to slow back down. And now I'm going to turn you over to iMovie Music. Sorry, I didn't think I could talk my way through this entire process. So here we go. Please don't hate me. Thanks for your patience. You know, and I think if it doesn't get full coverage, it's going to be okay too. Just as long as we get some of these on here. And these kind of clump together. They're really strange. Like they don't pour out of the cup nice. So I guess I'm just going to sprinkle these on. Let's pat these down. And what sticks, sticks, and what doesn't, doesn't. And that's good. You know what? That's going to be fine with me. Can't have it sticking to me though. It's sticking to me. All right, get on there. Get a couple more on there. All right, so maybe I'll just do like a lot and then press it down. So I don't want it. They're sticking to me. Look at this. Woo! Patriotic fingers. And they're kind of all over the place. Alright, I'm just going to let it go. I'm going to leave it like that. And then when it's dry, I'll just brush off whatever didn't stick. Sound like a plan? Sounds like a plan. Alright, so now that I got you through the first strip, I am going to just speed you up through this. It's the same Mod Podge, put it on, trying to do a little bit of a thicker coat with this chunky glitter, and then I'm just taking it with my fingers and spreading it on because these don't fall out of the cup nicely. So I'm just putting like a lot on, pressing it down, and then whatever falls, falls, whatever stays and stays. So I'm just going to do that all the way around the cup, and I'm not going to smack the cup too much, I don't want to loosen a lot of it because I'm going to come in with Krylon triple thick, and I'm going to spray this about 2 or 3 times to hold that glitter in place before I go in with my 2 coats of epoxy. And so I am going to do 2 coats of quick coat epoxy on this, and I'm going to let the first coat dry for about 2 hours before I put my second coat of quick coat epoxy on, and then after about 4 hours it should be ready to be sandable. So but you know, we'll have to assess it when we're done with that because the chunky glitter, if any of it's sticking up, it might pose a problem, and you know, we want this cup smooth or as smooth as possible when we go in to do our spray paint. Once I'm done with all of these strips, I am gonna let this dry for about an hour before I do my 2 coats of Krylon, 2 or 3 coats of Krylon triple thick. I think it wound up taking 3 coats because I really wanted to hold the glitter down. I really didn't want it to travel when I did the epoxy. And then once I let each coat dry, I think it was 10 or 15 minutes in between, and then I let the entire cup dry overnight before I went in and did my 2 coats of epoxy, because I wanted to make sure that the Mod Podge was dry, and I wanted to make sure that the triple thick was nice and dry too, because you know, you could run into a problem if you know, anything is still wet under the epoxy. It could cause problems with bubbling, and that, you know, you certainly don't want. You want it to be as smooth as possible. Alright guys, so this has 2 coats of quick coat epoxy on it, and so there are still some pokies, and these pokies are pretty pokey. So what I'm going to do is I am going to take my rotary tool and I'm going to gently wear down these pokey parts, and then I'm going to go ahead and give it a quick sand. I think that after I sand this, I'm going to actually put another coat on because it's kind of rough and bumpy in some places. So just a quick show you. I'm not going to show you the whole thing, but I'm just going to show you some of these spots like up around the rim where the pokies are sticking up. And I'm just going to use this tool and just wear this down. We definitely don't want pokies around the rim. And just keep feeling. So, and guys, I am wearing a dust mask because, you know, I don't want to breathe in this epoxy dust. So make sure you don't have to have like a chemical mask, but just make sure you have some sort of face covering so that you're not breathing this in. So see, I'm using that and I'm just wearing this down. So I'm going to do this around the cup. I'm going to just feel for spots, and where it's super pokey, I'm going to just use this tool and get it down, and then I'm going to let you know. But I'm pretty sure I'm going to put another coat of epoxy on. So, you know, the rule of thumb is if you have to do too much sanding, then you really do need another coat of epoxy. And although these spots feel really smooth, these stars have a lot of pokies. So I'll be back and I will let you know. Alright guys, so I give this cup a really good sanding. You can see that it's hazy. Do not worry, it will shine right back up under epoxy, but I don't like the feel of it. It's still really bumpy. So I am going to put another coat of epoxy. So what I did was I used this rotary tool to get the heavy spots, including I had down here what I call a muffin top. I don't know if everybody calls it a muffin top. So it's when epoxy pools either at the top or the bottom, and it happens because your cup is unlevel. And I find that you run into, it's easier for the epoxy to pool like that when you have a cup like this where it's tapered. So you got to be really careful when leveling your cup. And so I was not so careful, and I had a muffin top down here. So what I did was I took my rotary tool and I went and I just kept going around and around and around until I took it down to where it didn't look, you know, all puffy down here. So I'm hoping that a coat of epoxy will take care of any leftover muffin tops. So that's how I take care of that when that happens. So I went in with this. I don't know what grit this is. And then I went in with a 120 grit, and I went over the entire cup. I gave it a really good sanding because it has been sitting long enough. It's been curing long enough that I do want to scuff this up so that the epoxy sticks to this layer. And then I went in with a 180 or a 220 grit, and I went over that so as to smooth it out so it wasn't too rough. So I washed this with Dawn dish soap, and because the epoxy is all sanded, it feels like it's rough. So I feel like it holds in a little bit of moisture after you give it like a really good sanding like that. So it's a really nice sunny day here, so I'm gonna stick this out in the sun for about an hour and make sure it's really good and dry before I put my next coat of epoxy on. And then I'm gonna be back after that is cured to move on to the next step. All right, so I didn't show you this part because, you know, I'm trying to keep this video to a minimum because my videos wind up being really long. And so what I do is I tape everything and then I cut some stuff out. So in an effort to keep this, you know, below an hour, I cut this part out. So that's why I just showed you a picture of, you know, I used blue painter's tape around the center of the cup and then spray painted the top and the bottom. All right, guys, so I put another layer of epoxy on this. I taped off the center. I spray painted it with 2 coats of the Rustoluem's matte white. And now I'm ready to start distressing this cup. So I'm going to use acetone, and you can purchase this at Walmart, and 91% alcohol. So the acetone is going to remove the heavier stuff, and then the 91% alcohol is going to come back and like clean up any residue. So what I'm going to do is I'm using a paper towel because I like the texture of it, and I'm using Bounty paper towels. So, you know, paper towels I'm like a paper towel snob. So I actually am, you know, I'm very particular about my paper towels. So I don't like the cheap brand. Like, I always like buying the cheap brand of things, but when it comes to the paper towels, I always go with the more expensive, the Bounties or the Brownies. But anyway, this is a thicker paper towel. So it does have a little bit, it's not gonna fall apart on you like some of the cheaper ones. Because you don't want that to happen while you're doing this. You don't want, you know, it to be fraying on your cup. So I'm just using a downward motion to just distress this, and I'm not going to go down too far, but I do change the size of my paper towels because when the paint gets on the paper towel, it will, you know, it'll smear. So and I'm going to clean up this residue with my alcohol. So I'm just going to do a downward motion and just distress this out. There's no rhyme or reason. There's no real pattern. You just do it as you like it. You can do, you know, some that are more up, some that's more down, whatever tickles your fancy. And so I want to leave a little bit more because I am going to put phrases up at the top and the bottom. So I am liking the way this looks. So now I'm going to come in with my 91% alcohol. I'm going to spray a towel. And I'm just going to do the same downward, and I'm going to just clean that residue. And it works nicely to take it off. So it's a 2-step process. And I'm going to do the same thing I did with that. I'm going to like flip my towel, so because once the paint gets on there, it just kind of smears it. And I'm just going to go down and clean up any that is up in this area. All right, I think that looks pretty good. All right, so now I am going to go in. I'm going to grab a new paper towel for my top part. Make sure you wear a really good protective glove. You know, especially, and I'm going to stand up to do this, and only because I'm doing this on camera. So I'm going to go upwards on this way. You know, you need a good thick protective glove because if you try to use a nitrile glove or any of your other latex gloves, the acetone is going to go right through it. So you can purchase gloves at the Dollar Tree or any grocery store. I did not get this pair at the Dollar Tree because they only have mediums and I have really small hands. and it doesn't fit, and I have a hard time because the gloves flop around and it just makes it hard for crafting. So I went and bought these at the grocery store because they had smalls. All right, so I like that. So now I'm gonna clean it up with my alcohol, my 91%. And again, I'm gonna use a new towel for this, and I'm just gonna clean up the extra. All right, I think that looks pretty good. I think I've got it all. Got all the extra. So I'm really liking the way this looks. It's super cute. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put another coat of epoxy over this because I wanna put a decal on the painted part. So I'm gonna put a decal here and here. So if I try to put transfer tape on this, I run the risk of pulling the paint up. So I am gonna do another coat of epoxy. I wanna make sure that it is nice and smooth. And then after I do my decal, I'll do another coat of epoxy and this cup will be done. All right, I'm going to speed this up because you guys have seen me epoxy a lot of times, but I just wanted to say that I added into my epoxy ultra fine shimmer. It is a super fine white iridescent glitter that it gives it just a hint of sparkle and it doesn't overpower it because I wanted a little bit of sparkle in that white. I didn't want it to be completely flat. So I mixed up about 20 mLs and I am using the Stone Coat Quick Coat for this coat because it's not my final coat. I just wanted to coat that the paint up so that when I put my transfer tape on, I don't run the risk of pulling that paint up and then having to redo all of that because, yeah, that stinks when you have to redo something you've already done and you're really happy with the way it turned out. Don't forget to torch, and I'll be back in a couple hours when this is set. Guys, so the quick coat is dry now, and I'm going to apply my decal so it's nice and smooth, which is what I was looking for. And so I just did a Land of the Free because of the Brave, and I'm just going to apply this to my cup, and then I am going to put one more coat of epoxy, and I think it should be done. I think I should be done after one coat. Sometimes it takes two, just depends. So, you know, there really doesn't matter where you put it on the cup. And I'm just going to speed this up because most of you know how to put vinyl on a cup. I'm assuming that most of you know how to put vinyl on a cup. If you don't, I'm sure there are plenty of tutorials dealing with vinyl. I am using a holographic vinyl. I'm using holographic red and I'm using holographic blue. I purchased them, it is StarCraft brand, and I did purchase them at Annie Up Graphic Supply. They are local to me, so it's nice. When I need something, I just run over there and grab what I need. They also have their online store, and what's really cool is I can order online and then just pick it up like at the front door, like I ring a bell, and they bring out my order to me. So that's really nice because, you know, I go in that store and then I tend to spend more money. So I like to do the order and pick up. But you know what? I wind up going in the store to see what's new, and then I wind up spending more money anyway. But they have great customer service there. They do have their online ordering, so I will post a link as I do with everything else down below. Check them out. Great customer service, great prices, great products. And I'm still trying to talk my way through this to spare you with the music, but you know, it's taken a little bit of time to lay this vinyl. So I'll talk about how much I love Glitter Makes It Glitter. They have such great customer service. Their glitter is so gorgeous. And what's really cool about this company is if you join their Superstars page just to post your products or just look at everybody's products, they have a GMI color wish. So if you don't see a color that you like, you can put it in there and they almost always grant your wish at some point. Alright guys, this cup is done. I love how it came out. It is so pretty, so sparkly. I am really glad that I used this red bandana with like this blue jean on here. The glitter is absolutely gorgeous, and you know, although I did struggle a little bit with the chunky, we made it work. We figured it out. It, you know, it came together in the end. So thank you all guys for watching. Make sure you check the description down below for links to products that I use, discount codes, affiliate links. Make sure you give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe, and I will see you all next time. Bye.